Hello everybody, my name is Nick Petrovich, and for this week's presentation I have decided to focus on Native Americans. Native Americans, also known as indigenous peoples, believe that they were created and placed in North America for a specific purpose. They believe that the only crime that they have ever committed was simply being placed in North America first. And that segues into how the first 400 years of Native American history can be described. When white colonists came over from Europe, genocide was the cause of such a drastic population drop from 12 million native people down to 237,000. Also, during this time, the U.S. government expropriated 98% of native lands, which essentially means that the government participated in the legal theft of Native American lands and chalked up their behavior to, we will give you a reservation to live on, to have your own separate land that is government funded and that you have nothing to worry about. One of the big things that I'd like to point out about Native Americans is that we tend to lump them all together, and this is a big misconception. For example, in the continental United States that you'll see in front of you, Native American, indigenous person, that is the correct term. However, when you think about the U.S. as a whole, we also have Alaska and Hawaii. Now, those that are from Alaska are Alaskan natives, and then we break it down by tribe from there, just like we would Native Americans in the continental U.S. And then when we get to Hawaii, this is actually a different demographic of Native Americans or indigenous people to the islands, but instead they are identified as Pacific Islanders. Throughout the United States, there's over 500 tribes on 314 different reservations. In the continental U.S. alone, the largest tribe would be the Cherokee, and then in Alaska it would be the Eskimo. And we know that Native Americans tend to stick together in large geographic areas. For example, in the continental United States, 49% of Native people reside in the West, 31% in the South, 17% in the Midwest, and 9% in the Northeast. There are 5 values that typify Native American culture, and these are sharing and cooperation, non-interference, cyclical orientation to time, extended families, and the harmony with nature. Now, when we think about sharing and cooperation in Native American culture, for them, status and honor are earned not by the accumulation of wealth, but rather sharing and giving it away. Material items are freely shared, and an emphasis is placed on the well-being of others. This goes as far to show that Native Americans might even stop working once their immediate needs are taken care of, and then they'll return to work when they need more money, which is completely different from how Western culture is set up. With non-interference, they believe that it is rude to interfere with others, and that boundaries and the natural order of the world is to be respected. Again, unlike the West, silence is seen as a sign of respect, where the individual who is listening to the person talking is seen to be formulating their thoughts and looking for the right time to speak, which is completely different from the very intrusive and loud Western society that we live in today. Their orientation to time is unique. They focus on the present, the here and now. They don't stress on deadlines or work in a time crunch. They believe that activities last as long as they need to, and that there's a natural logic and rhythm of their own. With extended families, these have different types of upbringings. For example, the Hopi tribe when a male marries into his wife's family, he moves in with them. His property and status comes from the family. And in other tribes, such as the Navajo and Sioux, they interchange the term grandparent with those who are their brother or their sister, and they have no concept of what an in-law is, because in Native American culture there's no distinction between natural and inducted individuals. It's not uncommon for children to live in various households and be raised by grandparents, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, and uncles, even those that are not blood related. In regards to the harmony with nature, Natives believe that it is their responsibility to live in harmony, to safeguard their natural resources, and that if something is wrong with their health, it's because they're out of balance with nature and they need to do their best to correct it. One of the biggest and debilitating issues that Native Americans face nowadays is that some foreshadowing leading into our interview with Jack Lawson is the fact that 100% of Native Americans have been either directly or indirectly affected by alcoholism. A lot of this is due to a loss of their cultural ways, as a big sense of a Native American's identity comes from their connection to their family, their tribe, and Mother Nature. And when that is taken away from them, it leads to this sense of wandering. And unfortunately, Native Americans tend to withdraw within themselves and don't want counseling from outsiders. This leads to issues such as suicide, as well as economic hardship, due to the fact that they're simply not functioning anymore because they were so deprived and out of touch with reality. The purpose of the interview in regards to Native Americans deals particularly with Jack Lawson, who is a Native American of the Creek tribe. He has 22 plus years of experience related to alcoholism and drug treatment. His interview allows us an insight into what Native Americans are struggling with. He talks about how the word Indian itself is a derogatory term, and there's such a historical inaccuracy behind it from the time of Christopher Columbus. He believed that he had discovered and landed on the coast of India, when in fact he was in a whole new world, and that's where the term Indian comes from. It has been outlawed that no longer can the United States government pluck Native American children from their reservations and force them into boarding schools. The assimilation effect, however, is still seen in full force today, as many Native Americans are struggling with an identity crisis. They're wondering if they should completely adopt the Western culture's way of life, if they should have a mixture between how they were raised with Native American cultures and values and the way that the modern society in the West is operating today, or if they should simply stick to traditional and cultural values. It, unfortunately, they're ostracized no matter what decision they make by either their own culture or the dominant society here in the West. Thank you all for watching. I hope I was able to shed some light on some of the struggles that Native Americans face in the modern world today. This presentation has definitely made me realize that we all have to follow the golden rule, which is to treat others as we want to be treated and not be so ethnocentric, thinking that the way that we were raised is the right way and that our culture is the best way, and if somebody else doesn't think so, they're wrong. Being culturally sensitive can definitely help bring people together, and that's really what we need. Thanks, guys. I look forward to watching your videos.